Good afternoon, Cross Timbers. Today is Thursday, October 7th, 2015. This is Texan TV News from Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas, and I am Rachel Tuggle. In today's top headlines, we have a look at the current state of the 2016 campaigns. Tarleton held a job fair yesterday. The bygone days on the Bosque and sundown on the square are Saturday. FanDuel bans employees from fantasy sports. There's a bull elk on the loose in Waco. South Carolina deals with recent floods, and President Obama apologizes to Doctors Without Borders after a U.S. airstrike. For today's top story, the Associated Press gives us a glimpse at the presidential playing field.
Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton kicked off the 2016 campaign week with appearances in New Hampshire Monday, pushing tougher gun control measures days after the deadly shooting in Oregon. Clinton called for strengthening background checks on gun buyers and eliminating gun show and internet sale loopholes, vowing to use her executive powers as president to make it happen.
How many people have to die before we actually act? Before we come together as a nation?
The plan is an attempt by Clinton to stake out liberal ground against her closest rival, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Sanders has wooed the Democratic base with his liberal positions on issues like income inequality and college debt, but he's struggled to defend a more mixed record on gun legislation. Polls show Sanders leading Clinton in New Hampshire, a key early voting battleground. Meanwhile, speculation about a late entry by Vice President Joe Biden continues to swirl, reports suggesting he could announce his intentions within the next week. Whatever he decides, it's likely he will not participate in the first Democratic debate just over a week away. On the Republican side, Donald Trump and rival Jeb Bush will both hit the trail in Iowa this week, along with Rick Santorum and Bobby Jindal, both struggling to gain traction in the crowded GOP field. Most recent polls show Trump losing some ground in the early voting states, but still holding on to his front-runner status. Kelly Daschle, Associated Press.
In campus news, Tarleton hosted its fall job fair. This is the first of many that will follow in the spring. Philip Mullen visited the job fair and sat down with the Director of Career Services, Alana Hefner.
Career Services has been in existence around 22 years, and I believe that we have had job fairs for the majority of those 22 years. Of course, they have blossomed and they've grown, and we've added multiple types, so I would say a good 20 to 22 years. This is the fall job fair. Typically we have just a general all majors job fair in October, and then in the spring is when we have more of our career focused. And we didn't plan it that way. It just happened to be that is the prime time for, let's say, the teacher job fair. That's usually when contracts are signed for educators. We have the Science and Technology and Healthcare Expo, which is where we'll have more hospitals, more IT, more engineering type of major focused employers. In the spring, we also have a summer camp job fair. So students who are looking for some summer experience, transferable skills that will take them forward into their career. And then we have a general spring job fair, much like the fall job fair, where it's in all majors. All ages can learn from this, so freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. Freshmen can come and learn how to be awkward, if you will. It is very awkward, no matter how much of a polished professional you are or an aspiring professional, to talk with a stranger and to give your 5-minute or 5-second elevator pitch. So trying on the awkwardness of being able to articulate and advocate about your skills and talk about who you are and what you can be, and then to just inquire about what does this company have, how this company employs different types of majors. And then of course the job seekers, those who are going to graduate in December or May, it's an excellent opportunity for them to find full-time career positions. Undergraduates, typically we see a lot of juniors and seniors, job seekers, and but we also encourage freshmen and sophomore to come in as well. Again, looking at what are the opportunities out there, because many times students don't know what is available. They come in with a major and they kind of feel like it's a fit, but they're not sure what they can do with that. And so we encourage students at any point in their college career to come in and just talk with our employers. What could I do? If I'm a management major, what can I do with your company, and find out that there are other things out there besides what they've had in their mind all their life. Oh man, I would love to see multiple job fairs throughout the year. So more job fairs than just the one in the fall, and figuring out what the niche is that would be the most attractive for employers, and then also creating that buy-in with students. That's always the balance of that marriage. We can recruit the employers all day long, but if students don't show for the job fair or the particular majors that they are seeking, then it is a negative impression on the employer, and then they second guess whether they should come back and recruit at Tarleton State. So finding that balance and that mix of that marriage of getting the employers on campus, recruiting new blood, and also encouraging the students to come and understanding the importance of coming to the job fair even if they're not graduating seniors.
In regional news, the annual Bygone Days on the Bosque at the Stephenville Historical House Museum begins on Saturday. From 10 to 4, everyone is invited to come and check out the history that makes up Stephenville. There will be 50 different activities this year, such as an open blacksmith shop, a snake oil show, a printing press demonstration, and a cannon firing demonstration presented by the Sons and Daughters of the Confederacy. Additionally, a volunteer group of veterans and their families will be performing mock gunfights. New to the Bygone Days this year will be the baking and canning contests and the tram rides. Due to limited parking, visitors are encouraged to park at the city park or downtown and ride one of the trams. The trams will also be giving tours of historical Stephenville. After the Bygone Days on the Bosque ends, the first annual Sundown on the Square will begin on Stephenville's downtown square. From 5 to 9 p.m., visitors can experience a more modern period of Stephenville's history, the 1970s. Based on Sherry Knight's book, Deathless Trail of Terror, Sundown on the Square will focus on a frightful chapter in Stephenville's history. In 1974, 3 Colorado convicts escaped and left a trail of blood that ended in Erath County. Knight's book is based on interviews with those who encountered the convicts. There will also be some more family-friendly attractions. Vendors and more will be set up downtown. People can buy tickets to purchase food from restaurants, take a picture in an old Volkswagen, and kids can use the tickets to access bounce houses and a mechanical bull, among other activities. All money made by the event will be donated to help repair the Stephenville Historical House Museum. In sports news, the Associated Press reports that FanDuel, a web-based fantasy sports company, said it will ban all employees from playing daily fantasy sports for money. FanDuel will also begin an internal probe following reports that a DraftKings employee may have had access to unfairly valuable data before winning $350,000 on FanDuel. The AP has the story.
Daily fantasy sports operation FanDuel said it will permanently ban all employees from playing any daily fantasy sports for money and begin an internal probe following reports a DraftKings employee may have had access to unfairly valuable data before winning $350,000 in a FanDuel contest.
If you do have all of that data, you can see what most players or league entrants are betting on in terms of their players, and you can look at that and assume that that type of trend will continue. And when you enter a league, you can pick someone that has a huge upside, but is not being picked by most entrants in the leagues. And they view that as, quote unquote, possibly insider trading.
In a press release, FanDuel said there is no evidence showing the contest was compromised or that non-public information was used to gain an unfair advantage. The company said it hired former U.S. Attorney General Michael Mukasey to evaluate its internal controls. FanDuel's announcement comes after New York's Attorney General sent letters to DraftKings and FanDuel demanding they turn over details of any investigations into their employees. While legal in most U.S. states, daily fantasy sports is unregulated, unlike casinos and lotteries.
It's almost a perfect storm. All of those things combined are creating an outcry by some, not only in the gambling industry or the gaming industry, but regulators as well, saying something should be done here.
ESPN said it was cutting sponsored DraftKings elements from within its shows. It called the removal a standard procedure when covering significant news to avoid any suggestion of influence on our coverage. It said it was not cutting DraftKings commercials. Bob McCall, Associated Press.
In Texas news, according to the AP, a bull elk kept officials on the run yesterday in downtown Waco before it was subdued and removed to a private herd. Police Sergeant W. Patrick Swanton says that officers, game warden, and animal control officials mobilized after a resident reported seeing an animal at about 6 a.m. on Wednesday near his home on the southern edge of downtown. They found the bull elk, estimated to be about 2 years old and weighing about 600 pounds. Swanton said that the animal eluded capture for about 7 hours until it was cornered and shot with a tranquilizer dart at about 12:30 p.m. in a creek bed about 1¼ miles from where it was first spotted. The animal was removed to a herd on a nearby ranch. Swanton said it is not known where the animal came from. In national news, South Carolina has been barraged with floods due to recent rains. The Associated Press is on the scene with a report on how residents are coping with the disaster.
As Columbia dries out, anxious homeowners learn if what they left behind survived the flood.
There's a lot of adrenaline still flowing, and I think probably at the end of the week or so, I might run out of energy.
Homes turned inside out on their front lawns, irreplaceable photos airing out on driveways, but also visible throughout the South Carolina capital, Southern hospitality.
People are just showing up to help.
Volunteers from across the South have descended on Columbia.
Find anything that you think is savable.
Helping homeowners sort out what's left of their lives.
Thank you so much.
We're from all over South Carolina, and we feel like we just had to come out here and help out whichever way we can.
Doing my good deeds for the day.
Picking up nails. Knocking out walls. Carrying loads by the wheelbarrow.
Without the volunteers, we'd be sitting here, in a flooded house. So right now I'm way ahead of the game.
Richard Leppert says the creek behind his home came chest high in his house.
The real panic mode came in when we realized the water was up in the front also. There was really no out.
The water line visible on surrounding homes.
Initially I attempted to get out of the house and cross this street here, but the street was like a river.
Now the overrun creek is receding behind this neighborhood.
It probably has. We've been so busy it hasn't time to really sink in yet. So
it's now one day at a time and one piece at a time for residents.
Done like a pro.
Josh Raplogle, The Associated Press, Columbia, South Carolina.
In international news, yesterday, according to the Associated Press, President Barack Obama issued an apology to Doctors Without Borders after the United States carried out an airstrike in Afghanistan. This airstrike resulted in the death of at least 22 people located in a Doctors Without Borders hospital. Kunduz has been a location of high pressure and conflict with Afghan forces attempting to retake it from the Taliban. This, according to General John F. Campbell, who also said that these Afghan forces asked for U.S. power and that a heavily armed AC-130 in contact with special forces was what struck the hospital. Obama called the international president of Doctors Without Borders to offer condolences after the incident. According to White House spokesman Josh Earnest, Obama's apology was heartfelt and a transparent, thorough, and objective accounting of the facts. Investigations are underway from all sides of the incident. The U.S. is also reviewing the attack to determine whether changes in military procedure could prevent similar incidents in the future. And the French branch of Doctors Without Borders suggests that the incident may be considered a war crime due to the humanitarian identity of the victims. This weekend, according to weather.com, is going to be cloudy with a 40% chance of rain on Friday. Highs will be in the 80s and lows in the 60s. Today's broadcast was produced by Christine Humphreys, Philip Mullen, and Justin Pack. Don't forget to tell your friends about us and become a fan of Texan TV News on Facebook. I am Rachel Tuggle. Tune in on Monday for the latest news from Tarleton State University campus in Stephenville, Texas.